Hey, great. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another Mid-Market Tech Tuesday. We do this monthly, and we appreciate your time and attendance to these calls. We try to come up with some interesting topics to talk about. This week, we want to talk about the folks from the IBM Financing team, and we'll get into that in a second. And before I do, I just wanted to mention that if you're a new attendee to the call or you want to spread the word to other colleagues, that if you're a new time member to the call, that you will get a IBM coffee mug, and just pay attention for an email coming to you from Catherine, and we'll be getting your address and sending those out to you. So we appreciate your time and attendance. So again, as we mentioned, this week we're going to be talking to IBM Financing. We have two great guests on the call today. We've got Joseph Banks, and we have Doug Hobbs. Joseph, why don't you take a second just to introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. I joined IBM Finance a few months ago. I've been on the series team, so I work closely with Doug Hobbs. But really what I like to do is work with our business partners and our clients to give them the best financial value that we can.
Great. Thank you, sir. And Doug, why don't you take a moment and introduce yourself? You're on mute there, Doug.
All right. Thank you, Steve. Hey, thanks for the opportunity for us to participate this month. We really appreciate this chance. My name is Doug Hobbs. I've been with IBM Global Financing for 30 years and with IBM for about 37 years. And I've worked in segment 1, segment 2, and I'm currently working in the ecosystem. So kind of a broad range of experience with IGF. So I look forward to the discussion today. Thanks, Steve.
That's great, Doug. And with that storied history here at IBM, I'm going to hit you up at the end here for an interesting story of some type. So have that in the back of your mind.
Okay, I will.
Just so we can get everybody on the same page here when it comes to terminology, as the audience might be aware, the IBM financing team used to be called IGF, but that has changed. And Doug, I wonder if you can just give us a brief, 2-second overview. Maybe what is the new name? Was there any rationale behind the change?
Yeah, so our new name is IBM Financing, and throughout the years we've always been a full financial service IT banker, okay? But we're now focused purely on IBM. So our focus is IBM Solutions. And Joe and I will talk about that today, but we can provide support for any financial solution, but we're less focused across all IT, meaning all brands, and we're currently focused on IBM. And that's the real reason behind the change.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much. Joseph, let's start with you. I was just wondering, maybe could you elaborate on maybe 3 key benefits right off the bat, why folks would want to take advantage of using IBM Financing?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So with IBM Financing, there's a lot of different value that we bring not only to our clients, but also to our business partners. So in the channel, which is where Doug and I work, we're focused really on helping our clients reach their goals. So whether that's a project that they have for this year, next year, or they're trying to work with their financials, that's where we come in. So some of the great things that we try to do is lower the total cost of ownership, which also when you're working with new cash for other products. And then you're also creating a new credit capacity. So those are 3 quick ones. If Doug wants to elaborate, there's also other benefits that we have.
Yeah, I think, thanks, Joe. I think one of the key benefits is cash flow. So cash and cash flow is the lifeblood to our customers, right? IGF can really help build solutions that will help to manage that cash flow. From a business partner perspective, it's risk mitigation. It's mitigating the risk of collections, of credit risk, so by transferring that risk to IBM Global Financing allows the partners to focus on selling, focus on identifying new opportunities, and leaving those risks like collections and credit approval to IBM Financing.
Great. No, thank you guys. So just, overall, and this is true for myself, right? When thinking of financing, a lot of folks think either very large deals, but the reality is it's really about large sums of money, right? And that term large can mean a lot to a lot of different people, depending on how big you are. Large, what might be large to someone might not be large to someone else, right? Can you comment on how the IBM financing team can provide flexible payment solutions, including things like leasings, loans, deferred payments to even small and medium-sized business customers? Because I know that's a primary group of our audience that's paying attention here.
Yeah, Joseph, I'm gonna let you take this one. The main thing here is IBM Financing can build customized structures. I'm gonna let Joseph take you through some of those options that we can do.
Yeah. So when working with IBM Finance, there's one of the advantages, of working with us is that there's a lot of options. So at a high level, we have a few different options with deferred payments, but we can either, have the sum be heavy up front and then lower payments in the end, or vice versa, lower payments in the front, heavy payments in the end. Or we can work with you, have a deferred payment structure where you don't pay anything for the first few months. Or we can work with you to have a staggered or customized payment plan for your project.
Yeah, I think some of that, Steve, some of that bleeds over to put it into practice. We have a lot of customers that need a migration period, right? They want to move to a new solution. They want to put a new project in place, but they may need a 3-4 month period to migrate and have dual systems in place, but only one payment. So that's kind of where those deferred payment plans may fit in. The other thing, they may want to do to start a project today, but let's say their fiscal year is June of next year. So we can structure payments that allow them to start projects, start them today, set payments up to start in their next fiscal funding year when they can plan and have budget allocation. So those are some examples of where that may make sense.
Yeah, those are good examples. And as you said, a big part of the audience might be smaller to medium-sized businesses, and that'll be very helpful for them. So, basically what you're saying is it's not only about the quantity of money that you guys can lend out to different size organizations, but it's also about helping with cash flow, right? Because folks need to pay attention to that cash flow. So can you comment about how IBM Financing can actually help smooth out those business highs and lows, and maybe help the company achieve the strategic goals that they may have and the challenges that they are facing? I think with COVID, we've all been faced with cash flow challenges. And I think, everybody's business now has to have taken on a different strategy. So being able to align to that strategy, and a big part of that is money, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And so that's a good point, because, IT projects can be very expensive. They can be costly. They can be time consuming. And while they're always worthwhile and they always bring savings and benefits, sometimes financing can help you align the cost of this project to better align with the benefits that you're going to receive. So in other words, instead of spending $1 million up front to implement a project over a course of 2 to 3 years, or even 12 months, you may not reap the benefits of that project, till over time. So if you can spread the cost of the financing, you're deferring the cost to better match when you're going to receive the value or the benefits of that project. And then what that does for your customer is improve the ROI. So, financing is the best way to improve the ROI of an IT project.
Good advice. Good advice. So I know something that might be interesting to a lot of the business partners out here listening to this call is, it's December now, December 2, I see here. It's getting close to the end of the quarter, and just wondering how easy it is for a business partner to be able to kind of execute on a deal that they are working to help get the financing to close it to be applicable for this particular quarter. So if I'm a consumer, I obviously want to get things done. My budget might run out. I might have a use it or lose it kind of thing going on. I want to be able to get that deal done. It might require some financing. How simple or difficult is that to do through you guys? Anything you can do, maybe take me through a few of the steps so that we have some things in our mind about what to expect when working with you guys?
Yeah. And I'll tell you, that's the one thing that we pride ourselves on. I think IGF is very nimble. We're easy to do business with, I would say. We've got processes in place that allow us to act quickly. So, we can do a deal start to finish in, anywhere between 1 to 3 or 5 business days. And I'll kind of take you through those steps real quick. First thing you're going to have to call the customer and qualify the customer. Once you have a qualified customer and a qualified project, come to IGF. The first thing we'll do is we'll work to credit qualify the customer. And we can credit qualify customers in 1 to 3 business days. And oftentimes we can do that in 1 day or within 1 day, depending on if the information is available publicly, what's available to us. We can then provide a proposal the same day. So we can turn financing proposals around in a day. And then once we have credit, we can provide an executable contract within 1 business day. So it's very easy for us to do a transaction in 3 to 5 business days. And there are cases where we can do a deal start to finish in 1 day. So there's plenty of time to engage IGF and get a deal done here in the fourth quarter. But as it relates to time, I'll share this. The most effective way to engage IGF is very early in the sales cycle. Obviously, when you're calling on the customer, the first thing you're going to want to do when you qualify that client is to make sure they have budget approval, they have capital approval, they have money to pay, right? So paying for the solution is absolutely one of the primary qualifications you want to make on your customer when you're selling a project: the ability to execute, the ability to pay. If you can work with IGF early, we can help you to structure the solution. We can help you to help price and build a solution that allows IGF to help you close the deal sooner. In other words, not be delayed by learning that you've got a budget constraint or you've got a fiscal year constraint. So the earlier you can engage with IGF in the sales solution, I think the better. But to kind of answer your question, if it's late in the game and you need a quick turnaround, we're able to do that as well.
That's great, Doug, because I'm sure folks are, we're hearing this call today, we're cautious, we're like, yeah, can we get it done? But it's good to know that we can get it done, because a lot of those things are important, as you said, to a lot of businesses driving deals. I want to take a break for a second, maybe just turn to Ryan. Ryan, I think you're monitoring the Q&A. Anything come in that folks want to know about? You're on mute, sir. Ryan, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. We don't have any yet, but as I would encourage anyone listening to put their questions in the chat, and we'll answer them when we can. Okay, great. Joseph, let's go back to you for a second, and Doug, I'll follow this one with you. So you guys have been doing this a while. Ryan, you a little bit less, but here at IBM, any interesting stories or things that have happened where you guys have been called to get engaged and helped out, and it's kind of changed the dynamic of the deal? And by that, I mean, we've added things to it, we've moved things to it, doing things better for the customer. Anything come to mind?
Yeah. So prior to being with IBM Finance, I actually was on the IBM side as a software seller. And I was selling one of our file transfer products. And this would happen frequently where I'd have, large deals and we'd come across those issues that you were speaking about earlier with budget constraints or, there's not enough time in the quarter, but they need the project now. And so that was a common thing I had to deal with and see how we could work around that. But when I came to IBM Finance, literally within my first month, and Dave and I were actually working together on this, we were able to get the project or get the request from our client, put together a proposal, price it, send it back over, and everything was done within a week, like Doug was saying. So it made me think. So I actually went back to my old sales team and I presented, everything that I was doing, and I was like, everyone, listen, listen to me. IBM Finance can help you get it done, and we can get it done fast. But the thing is, it's not as complicated as people think, because the value that we bring isn't just, financing or helping out with costs. We have our expertise to where we're able to do things super quick. So we have Doug's experience, our team's experience. I mean, just our team in general, Doug, I think we have over 100 years of IBM experience if you put everything together. So that's one of the first things I noticed when we were able to help clients. There's other examples, but coming from the seller side for software to financial sales, I think that's massive.
You say, Joseph, with 100 years of combined experience. I think Doug, you bring a third of that.
I do. Yeah.
How about you from yourself? And I mean, you've been doing this a while now. Any interesting stories?
I've seen a lot of interesting stories, and I could go on and on. I'll tell you, the most common is a customer who does not have capital dollars, and they just can't. They're not in a position to move on a project, and then we've been able to engage with Treasury and engage with their accounting department, and find that through financing, sometimes we're able to convert a project from capital funding to expense funding, and there's creative ways to structure a solution, and it frees up dollars with a customer. So I've seen several cases where customers haven't had capital funding or approvals in place, and through financing and structuring using leasing, we've been able to allow the customer to move today and implement a project sooner than they normally would have been able to. I've seen horror stories within leasing. I will tell you, I'm going to tell you one because I think it's funny, but it speaks to IBM Global Finance or IBM Financing, IBM Financing terms, conditions. I think what sets us apart in the marketplace are our contract terms, conditions. We have the best terms, conditions in the industry. I firmly believe that. Our goal is not to lock customers into leasing with evergreen leases, and an evergreen lease is a kind of a lease that you can't get out of. And our goal is just the opposite. Our goal is to work with our partners to refresh technology. Our goal is to work with IBM to keep customers current on new technology, not to keep them locked into old technology. And I've seen a situation with a competitor, and it was a textile customer that I was calling on in El Paso, and we were talking about financing an AS400. That'll date me right there, Steve.
There you go.
He was uncomfortable with financing, and he took me over and he showed me an AS400 that was sitting in the corner of his data center. It was unplugged, just sitting there. And he explained to me the reason he doesn't lease is because that machine was on a lease tied to all of their sewing machines. Okay. And it was an all or nothing lease. And if he wanted to conclude, buy out, return that AS400, he had to return everything associated to that lease, which was all of their sewing machines, which obviously he couldn't do. So he had an AS400 machine sitting in the corner that he'd been paying on for, years and years, and he had no way out. So I think that's an interesting story. It was not funny for the customer, but kind of funny to see in person. And that's the benefit that IGF or IBM Financing has. We have terms that are really designed, like I said, to keep customers current on technology, not to keep customers in evergreen leases.
That's good. We did have a question come in, Doug, but I do believe we answered it. But people are interested in trying to find out if they have a December deal going on. Can we help? So I would encourage you, again, as Ryan mentioned, put your questions in the Q&A box. But in answering that one question, as you heard here, Doug mentioned, we can close that. Doug, you talked first. You said IGF, or I wanted to say IGF, IBM Financing, easy to do business with, right? So that's good. I think a lot of people might say IBM as a whole is not that easy to do business with, but I'm glad you kind of laid that out there to set it up. And it's funny, the example you just painted is a really good example of things that people may or may not know about or try to understand or that sort of thing. So maybe between you and Joseph, you can tell us a few things that folks, stuff that you guys see on a fairly regular basis that folks just don't have a clear understanding of, that can really help them kind of get over their fear of financing or some encouraging ways to think about financing. Anything like that could help us here?
Yeah, you want to take that, Joe?
Yeah. So this is actually a really big point, and when you hear the word financing, it often scares people. And what I like to do is I create an example that was aside from IBM, aside from tech, in my personal life. So when I first started my career with IBM, I was like, okay, I want to go get Invisalign, right? I want to go fix my teeth, and the upfront costs for me at the time, it was a large amount. And I was like, okay, I can either pay this right now so I don't have to think about it, or I can have the payment plan. And the payment plan, I think, was like 24 months, and it was 0% interest and, monthly payments. I was like, oh, okay, well, I don't really want to be making payments. But then as I started to learn more about personal finance and finance in general, I came to realize that the value is really there. So as you know, inflation, it's crazy. And it applies to any industry, whether it's tech or not. And what I thought of was, okay, I can do these monthly payments, $75, and take the other amount, that lump sum, and I could invest that, let's say in my Roth IRA or some other investment account where I'm getting 10 to 12% growth year over year, where I'd actually be making money instead of losing money, because with inflation, I'm actually losing money. In the tech industry, a good example is for your renewals. So you have your 3-year renewals. Year over year, you're on average going to be paying 5 to 6% more for each year for the renewals, correct? So when you were, or if you're to finance that, you keep your 3 flat payments, and you're actually saving yourself, 20, 25% over those 3 years, because you're not having to deal with that 6% increase every year. So that's just a thing, upfront costs, with inflation and all of that, interest, it all comes into play, and you actually are saving a lot more money when you're working with finance.
I think, Joseph, I'll let you answer here in a second, but I'm sorry, Doug. Joseph, I think that's a great point. The one thing, you have consumer examples, which obviously make a lot of sense, right? And that's smart, right? But the one thing a lot of folks don't always think about in the moment is that support, that maintenance cost, right? And all of a sudden now, with that additional value, as you just pointed out, wow, that's a huge burden lifted off my back. I think that's a good point to point out. Doug, any thoughts on your side?
Yeah, I'll tell you a thought. It just came to me. I'm not sure exactly how it fits into the question, but I would like to share it. It's because we are and IGF is the largest IT financing company in the world. Okay, and with that, we have a lot of assets. So we find customers that need interim solutions, or we have customers who may not be credit worthy. I'll just say higher risk from a credit perspective. So we have a vast array of used equipment, and a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't know that we can help source solutions using used equipment that's IBM certified, maintenance certified. It's very cost effective, and we've seen that used a lot of ways. An interim solution through a migration period, equipment data center move, setting up a configuration at a new location, to make the move, or like I said, just simply because they don't have the credit worthiness to do a new transaction. We can make arrangements using used equipment with very high risk customers. So that's a capability that IBM Financing brings that I'd like everybody to be aware of.
Doug, I think that's fantastic, and I think that's probably one of the best fun facts we've learned on this call today. Just a question: you said it a couple of times, right? So if you maybe a credit risk or that sort of thing, we can dip into that. Do you have to be? I mean, could someone who's not a credit risk but doesn't necessarily need the latest and greatest, but is looking to fulfill, some workloads and some data centers that might not need, the latest flash or the latest whatever, can they take advantage of that too?
Absolutely. And we probably sell more of the used equipment to credit-worthy type customers who want to be N-1, maybe hopefully not N-2, but maybe when we have that equipment available sometimes. So yeah, it's open to all customers and to all our partners as well.
That's great to know. Thanks for sharing that. All right, gentlemen. I'm not sure, Ryan. I'll ping you one more time. Any new questions pop up in the Q&A?
No, we're all clear.
Okay. So guys, I'll leave it to you. Any last final comments and we can close out the call? Joe?
I just want to thank everyone. Thank you guys for inviting us on here. It's been a pleasure. It's been really fun talking finance. It always gets us excited. So I hope you all have a great holiday season as well.
Great. And Doug?
Yep, same, Steve. Thank you for having us. We really appreciate this opportunity to speak with the team. Thank you all.
Well, I know we always, like to talk tech on here, but I think, and I think, Doug, you said it probably best. When you're thinking about any type of a deal, and I'm not specifically a salesperson, but I think all the steps you need to make sure that you have in place, financing has to be key and be one of them. And I think this is a great opportunity, and I appreciate you guys sharing kind of how you guys can help our channel, help our customers, help our sellers. It's great, and I appreciate your time today.
You bet. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, everybody, and stay tuned. And if you haven't yet, you'll be seeing some notes come out from our staff asking about some other interesting topics you might like to hear about as we go through the course of next year. But with that, I will close out the call and say thank you very much.
Yep. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks.